Well, on a motorcycle, going fast is pretty fun, but you got to be able to stop. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to do some brake maintenance on my Yamaha Super Tenere. And this is going to be pretty straightforward, very similar to how you would do brake bleeding and flushing on pretty much any motorcycle. The only difference is that this is a ABS equipped motorcycle, anti-lock braking, and it's the first motorcycle I have owned with such a system. So we are hopefully going to learn how to do this together. I have never done ABS bleeding on a motorcycle before. I looked up a little bit of information. There's two different ways we can do it, but we'll get started on the brake flush and bleed. So basically what I'm going to do is I am going to flush out the front brake system and the rear brake system, put fresh fluid in it, and then we will cycle the ABS and then flush it one more time. Okay, first thing you want to do is open up your master cylinder. Now on Japanese bikes at least, most of these have these what look like Phillips head tips on here. And I have mentioned this several times, so if you have never watched my videos before, Japanese Phillips are actually JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard, and you can usually identify that by, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a little dot. Kind of hard to see here. A little dot right. It'll focus right there. These are JIS, and it is slightly different angle than Phillips. So what happens is, if you don't know this, you'll use your regular Phillips tip, and the tip will go in there, and as you turn it and apply pressure, it will cam out of there, which means that when you turn it, it will spin up and out and start to strip these out. So I highly recommend going online or to a good tool store and getting a JIS tip. And this one I have here is a Vessel, and my brother sent me this. So thank you to my brother for sending me this. I had a JIS tip equipped tool, and someone borrowed it and I never got it back, and my brother heard me complain about that and sent me this. But ever since I've realized that, I've had a lot less issues with what I thought were Phillips tips stripping out on motorcycles. You can order these on Amazon or any place like that as well. So there you go. Remove those screws. And if they do strip out, which if you have an older motorcycle and they've been over tightened or messed with by somebody else, the easiest thing to do is to just drill the head of these off. So you just get a drill bit, drill it off, and then a little bit of that will be sticking up after the head comes off, and you can take it out with a vice grip. I'm sure at some point it's going to happen to me on another motorcycle. Okay, brake fluid is, of course, not good for paint and stuff, so I'm going to grab a rag real quick and lay it down here, because as much as I try to be careful, I end up spilling stuff. And now that I've got the cap removed, we can see the brake fluid in there. Now, brake fluid should be pretty much clear. This has got kind of a Coca-Cola color to it. So it's good that we're getting it flushed. What I like to do first is remove as much of this fluid out of the master cylinder as I can, and for that I'm going to be using my Cajun injector here. I won't be using this for turkeys anymore. I'm just going to syringe as much out of here as I can, so I'll take care of that. Okay, using the syringe, I got the majority of it out, and then I got the rest of it out with a paper towel. So we're going to add some fresh fluid. Now this motorcycle has ABS. Every vehicle in the world does these days. and DOT4 brake fluid is your recommended brake fluid. I have some DOT4. I also have DOT3. Now these two are compatible. DOT4 has a higher boiling point, so it is recommended, but if you do not have it, you can use DOT3. DOT4 will give you a better performance, like I said, just due to the boiling point, but these two are compatible fluids. So I'm going to top this off, and then we are going to bleed. When you bleed your brakes, say if you're bleeding your brakes on a car, truck, you always go to the brake that is farthest away from the master cylinder. So on a vehicle, it's probably going to be your passenger side rear. For a motorcycle, if you have dual discs on the front, then you'll go to the farthest one, which for us, it looks like we have the hose comes down to this one initially and then crosses over to this side. So even though this one is closest in proximity, it's travels the farthest. So we'll be bleeding that one. And I'll show you two different ways to bleed the brakes. A manual way, I have a hose. We will squeeze the lever and crack this open. And then I'll also use my Mighty Vac here and do vacuum bleeding. Let's see how good you can see this. You're not going to be able to see up here. I'm going to be reaching up and squeezing the front brake lever and holding it. So squeeze and hold. Crack open the bleeder down here. I'm attached to this hose, and then close the bleeder after you feel the lever go all the way down. Then let go of the lever and repeat the process. Squeeze the lever, open the bleeder, close the bleeder, release the lever. And you want to do that a couple times until you see fresh fluid coming out of here. This fluid isn't too bad, but on some vehicles, I said this had kind of a light cola color. Sometimes it's dark like chocolate. So I'm only going to have to cycle this a couple times. If you're lucky enough to have a friend who will work on vehicles with you, or a concerned partner, spouse, significant other, etc., reaching this side while reaching up there to squeeze that brake lever is pretty difficult. So if you have two people, you can do it that way. Otherwise, that's where the Mighty Vac comes in. I actually was able to do it, but I had to sit down here, reach up there with my right arm, and then reach around the tire with my, reach up here with my left arm, reach around there with my right arm, and I couldn't see what was going on. But, like I said, if you have a garage partner, that's great. Mighty Vac is also good. These are not that expensive. I can't remember what I paid for this, but they sell them at auto stores, Amazon, of course. Harbor Freight Tools actually has their own cheapo version, which I've heard is okay. But I'll show you how to use this when we do the rear. Once again, we're going to start by getting the old fluid out of the master cylinder reservoir here. So on the Ténéré, at least, there's a bolt here I already removed, 8mm, or you can use a JIS Phillips. And that'll give you a little bit of access in here. As you can see, my bike is kind of dirty. For some of you all, really dirty perhaps. Yeah, I rode it a couple thousand miles through rain, so I haven't got it detailed out yet. I basically just hosed the big chunks off of it. But I'm going to unscrew this cap, syringe that out of there, fill it up with some fresh fluid. Okay, I got the Mighty Vac partially set up here. I was just going to kind of show y'all how it works. This is just a little vacuum pump, basically hand operated. I'm going to put my finger over the end of this, and you'll see it built up vacuum as I pump it. So what's going to happen is this is going to draw a vacuum. I'm going to hook this up to the bleeder valve on this side, and it ideally, finger quotes, ideally should draw enough vacuum pressure to pull the fluid through the system instead of pumping it through. Yeah, I'll show you here in just a second. We'll hook it up. All right, once again, shooting my own videos in the garage is always a little bit difficult, but here's our connection. We've got it hooked up. This thing should draw a vacuum, but it shouldn't draw it into the pump itself because it's got this canister right here. So what I'm gonna do is, let me see if I can get you in the stand here. I apologize for all the shakiness here. And there you go. That might be somewhat of an angle. You can see something, I don't know. Doesn't look too terrible, doesn't look too great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pump this up a little bit, just off camera here. There you go, right here. Pump this up a little bit, get a couple of pounds of pressure, and then crack this open. And see, there you go. See, it's drawing some through. Can you see that? Yes, you can. There you go. I'm just gonna keep about 5 or 10 PSI on here. And you can see it's drawing it into there. Slowly. Let me pull you out of here. There you go. And you want to watch your level there. Of course, if that goes too low, then you'll suck air into the system. So that's how that works. Okay, if you do not have an ABS equipped motorcycle at this point, you have flushed your front and rear brakes. With the ABS system though, you have an ABS pump, and that is all located underneath here somewhere. This is underneath the seat. Let me get back up a little bit so you can see. And technically the ABS pump hasn't cycled all the fluid through there yet. So there are 2 ways that I know of that you can cycle fresh fluid into the ABS pump, and then what you're supposed to do is cycle your ABS pump and then flush. Sorry, I'm getting washed out there. There you go. Now I much better contrast. Once you cycle the ABS pump, then that's going to push a little bit more dirty fluid into the system, and you should do one final flush front and rear. So the 2 ways that I know of, one of them is called the hillbilly or the redneck way or whatever you want to call it, and that would be to button the bike up, jump on it, take it out into some grass or some gravel, and then grab a handful of brake front and back a couple times to cycle the ABS. You know, you can feel it when the ABS system works. So they say to do that a couple times, then ride back and then cycle it. The other way is there is a plug underneath the seat here, and it has this dummy plug in the end of it, and you're supposed to jumper this black and this blue wire together. Now, I have never done this before, but let's give it a shot on the live and in person. Well, it'll be recorded, but I'm live right now, and we'll see if that works. If in fact this procedure works, I would like to thank the Yamaha Super Tenere forum and the member 2 to Max. There's instructions on here on how to do this, and there's that plug. The recommendation in here is to remove these little rubber bits, but I'm going to just pull this entire plug out and make a little jumper wire. And there's the jumper between the black and the blue. And then set the kill switch to off, turn the key to on, and your ABS warning light should be flickering, it says. That means that the wire is connected. Press and hold the start button for about 4 seconds, and simultaneously step on the rear brake pedal and grab the front brake lever. You should feel the ABS pump actuate the front for a few seconds, then the rear, then the back to the front. 15 seconds total. Key off, ABS pump cycled. So we will try that. Many times in the past, my hoarding tendencies have paid off, and I've found like a plug that'll plug directly in there, so I don't have to make a jumper wire. I thought I had it. This one is pretty close, but it's just a little bit different. But anyway, I just grabbed a different connector out of there, pulled 2 pins out of it, stripped them, twisted them together, put a little electrical tape, and pushed those down onto those pins on the blue and the black. All right, blue and black is those two. Those two, thank you for double checking. Now let's see if this works. Let me see if we can get you in the stand. I have no idea, I've never done this. We'll need the key, that's kind of vital. Ignition switch is off. Okay, key on. I said ABS should be flashing, and it is. Okay. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear or see anything. I'm gonna put you into the Chingus here though. And we're going to push the starter and also do the front and the back brake. I can hear. Some ticking down there. And the ABS light is out. Oh wait, no, it's still flashing. Oh, there you go. That's better. I let the starter off. Wow, I can really feel the front. The front was really moving. There you go. So press and hold the starter and then let it go. I was still holding it. Okay, now we'll let them off and we'll shut this off. There you go. So press and hold the starter button for a couple seconds, then front and back, and I could feel it modulating under my foot there. I had my toe on there, and I had my hand up here. I could really feel it. So now I'm going to remove this jumper, and let's turn the key on and see what happens. Okay, the ABS light is just on. And I guess whatever that ticking noise is down here always happens. I've never noticed it. Voila! So let's see what everything looks like. Let's see if we get any discolored fluid out of the, we'll do the rear first. Topped off the rear master cylinder reservoir. Let's see what happens here. Didn't look terribly dirty, but we did cycle some through the ABS pump, so I'm going to go ahead and bleed about half of that reservoir down, and then we'll call it good. And we'll do the same for the front. Make sure you put this dummy plug back in here, just to keep that from getting any crap in it. That was kind of tucked under there for those of you who don't know where that's at. Right under there. Excuse the mess under here. This bike gets ridden. Oh yeah, and gun locks make excellent additional helmet locks and gear locks. So I'll put this back together. What do you think? Should we do the clutch as well? Super Tenere has a hydraulic clutch, so more of the same here. We're going to remove the cover. It says here it uses DOT4. Some European bikes use mineral oil. And look at that, some dumbass put the heated grips thing right on there, so it's a little sticky. No biggie. Yeah, that's due. That stuff's pretty gross. So we'll clean that out. And the bleeder port for this is down here. Now, to do this, you really do need a Mighty Vac or some type to either pull fluid through, or I've also seen people use a syringe and push fluid from this end back up into here. That's how I've done it on a lot of KTM on dirt bikes and stuff that have a hydraulic clutch, but it will work either way. Let me see if I can show you one of the quick negative things I dislike about the Mighty Vac. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to do this, but maybe I can get you in the stand and get you close enough. There's a couple things I dislike about it. It's a pretty handy little tool, but one of the things is that those bleeder bolts right there, when you apply some vacuum here, sometimes you get a lot of air because the Mighty Vac is providing suction and you're getting leakage around the threads of the bleeder bolt. So I've heard you could put Teflon tape around there to help it, but it just kind of gives you a false idea that you're getting air out of the system when most of the time that you're not. Another thing I dislike about the Mighty Vac is that I could be down here enjoying myself, having a good old time, seeing this crappy fluid come out, and then if you don't pay attention up here, you can run your cylinder out, especially on a very small one like this one. This clutch cylinder is very small, so it's real easy to run it out, and then you introduce air into the system, and that just puts you back to the starting point, or worse actually, because air in the system is going to cause spongy operation. And for the finishing touch, after all these miles, I'm finally getting myself an aftermarket seat. Seat Concepts, thank you very much. I've ran Seat Concept seats on a lot of my bikes. I think they're one of the best values out there in aftermarket seats. So this one I actually picked up from another Super Tenere owner. There you go. Back in one piece. We'll see how that goes. I haven't ridden on it yet. Clean up the area when I'm done. Make sure all your covers are reinstalled. Check your levels. And then the best part about any motorcycle maintenance is going out for a test ride when you're done. So we'll take care of that. Yeah, who knows where the heck I might end up, but we're ready to go now. Or we're ready to stop. Both. If you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down there somewhere. And if you're not already a subscriber, I really have to question your sanity, because I wouldn't be watching this if I wasn't a subscriber. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.